Hi, my name is David James, and I am a piano and bass teacher here in Wichita. And I was out of the school there the other day to work with some beginning students, and I noticed a lot of habits that were forming in kids that, sometimes the teachers are very, very busy and they don't get a chance to see everything that's going on, especially if they have, say 86 kids in a class, like this particular one did. And they may miss a lot of things that are going on that are really detrimental to the playing for a bass student. So I thought I would just talk about a few things. First of all, when you set up your bass, you want the height of the instrument so that when the player is in first position, and they look over here at their first finger, it should be roughly across from your left eye, kind of like it is for me right here. Yeah. If you see something and they're looking down here like this, that's probably a 4 or 5 inch change there. It's just too low. Okay, they're looking down on their position rather than over at it. This is the right height. It also sets things up so that when they put their bow in place, you're in the sweet spot for playing. I'm going to tighten up my bow because I'm going to need it a little bit later. All right, so that's the first thing I would say. So that is going to be adjusted by moving your end pin on your instrument. I hope you can see my end pin. There it is, down there at the bottom of the screen. Yeah, if you can adjust that up or down so that their left eye is right across from their first finger, that's optimal. Okay. Lots of times I'll see kids trying to play from behind the instrument like this. Well, that's a long ways to come around here. It might be good for your left hand, but it's not so good for your right hand. And I see kids that are off to the side like this, and they're trying to play from the side of the instrument, and then it's further to try to get their hand around like that. So the most optimal place is to stand, say, facing your music or whatever you're wanting to face, and bring the bass in at a diagonal to your body, so that it's kind of halfway between those two things, all right? So that your knee is almost hitting right behind that lower bout of the instrument right there. Balance can be achieved at that point if you actually do put the knee there, okay? I don't necessarily like to keep my knee there all the time because you put a lot of weight on one leg. We all know that's bad for us. So in any case, not to the side and not behind, but kind of at a nice diagonal, kind of hitting you about halfway across your body there. Yep, cool. All right, another thing, thumb placement. Once they get their, bass set up to the right height and they're holding it in the right, orientation to their body, I see a lot of this with the thumb sticking out, from behind the neck. You don't want to see that thumb. You can see this at home, parents, when you're walking by and they're practicing. If you see that thumb, tell them to get it behind the neck. By the way, watch that. Watch what happens here. When I move that thumb behind the neck, my elbow goes over to the other side of the neck from me. It's over here now, right? Instead of behind, okay? And my hands are now curved so I can reach all this more easily. If I'm here with my thumb, that becomes a very hard thing to do. So almost, I equate it to trying to play while you're hanging off the edge of a cliff. It's kind of hard to do this, all right? And it also looks kind of T-Rex-ish, all right? So get that elbow to the other side of the instrument from you. Get your thumb behind the neck. Now, talking about that thumb behind the neck, lots of kids will they'll do what I call hitchhiking thumb. They'll point that thumb straight up. That's a big no-no too. You want that thumb basically in a C shape across from your middle finger. Put that in place over there in whatever position, and you'll see that my thumb is roughly across from my first or my second finger. Yeah? So somewhere in that general area is a good place to be. Okay? What else am I wanting to talk about? We already talked about that left elbow. All right, automatically over onto the other side. If you see this going on, tell them to get that elbow over to the other side of the instrument so they can do something. Along that same line of topic, if you will, we don't want the left arm to touch the bass anywhere except for the hand, the fingers, the thumb, okay? Do not let the kids, lean on the bass with their arm like this. I see a lot of that going on. Or, this kind of thing, which makes it where they automatically can't shift. I mean, eventually you want to be able to get out of this position here and be able to move up the instrument. Well, it's hard to do that when your elbow is sitting here on the bass like that. So try to make sure that, the elbow and the arm is not touching the instrument at any point. Even when we play up high, we try to avoid touching the instrument. Okay? So, and I think that kind of gets me done with my left arm and how to hold the bass, what to do with your thumb, that kind of thing. Talk about bow grip real fast. First of all, it looks like this from the front. I like to take the middle finger and I like to put it right there onto that metal piece on the frog. That's called the ferrule, F-E-R-R-U-L-E. And we put that right there and we let the rest of the hand come in. Now, I know that you've seen probably violinists that put their pinky way up there like that. We are bassists and we don't do that. We're a whole hand kind of thing onto the frog. Try not to hyperextend that first finger. Keep it back with the rest of the fingers so they're just kind of evenly spaced. Kind of like if you just threw your hand out there just normal like that and then brought the bow to it. That's pretty much what you get, okay? Now, what's tricky about this is where that thumb goes, okay? That thumb goes into this corner where the stick meets the frog, right here. I'm going to scoot in a little bit further so you can see what I'm talking about, okay? There's a corner right there. You can kind of see the shine of the light on it right there, okay? That's where we put our thumb. And we don't put the thumb all the way through the stick like that. We put it right there. If you're doing it right, I like to tell the kids, you'll have a dent on the end of your thumb, just like I had there. Watch it. And you can see the dent. That this little mouth of that frog right there, trying to put that thumb into that corner of that frog, created in the end of my thumb. Yeah, and that sounds painful, but eventually you get used to it. You may develop a callus there. So when it's in place, it's kind of hard to show you on video, but it looks like that. Yeah? One thing I also tell people is don't let the thumb look like this. So I call banana thumb, okay? You want it like with that knuckle sticking out and then that tip of that thumb jammed into that point on the frog. Hopefully you can all see that, okay? And then when you play, you put the bow in place on the string and you want to play at a right angle to the string. This is another thing that I saw. A lot of kids are, when they're playing, their bow's pointing towards the floor like this, or they're up here like this, and it doesn't makes a pretty rotten sound when you try to bow like this. Okay, it's the same thing this way, but if you can get it at a right angle to the string, or roughly 90 degrees, nobody's going to check it with a square, but if you can get it 90 degrees or a right angle, suddenly you're going to have a nice clear tone. One of the things that will cause these kids to start pointing the bow towards the floor or up in the air is if they bend that elbow. There's no reason to bend this elbow, okay? If you bend it, that's what happens. It's like you're digging a hole or something. Right here, if you just let that arm pretend like it's an ape arm, just swinging back and forth, this kind of thing, and go in a position like that. When you hit that point where the bow's about ready to run off the string, they can kick that wrist out that way and then bring it back. Yeah? And that way the bow will stay straight. Watch. So that's that's a few just basic fundamentals that I wanted to hit. These were the main things I was able to see with the kids. I do teach lessons, and if you are looking to further, dive into the bass a little more specifically, not a lot of bass teachers teaching strings out in the public schools, but I am a specialist at this. If you are interested in lessons, you can check out my website. It's www.DJ Piano Bass. That's for David James. DJ Piano Bass at djpianobass.com is what it is. Okay.